Let's take a look at a few of the options on the crop tool. If I hit the letter C to go to crop, or click the crop tool, you'll see that it instantly puts corners around the image. In many cases, I may have taken a shot I really like, and I want to have it printed, but I know I want it 8 by 10. Before we do anything to crop this image, I'll look under Image and Image Size to see what width and height I actually did get. And this is a little over. It's 10.8 by 8.1. And if I'm taking this to a Photoshop or even my local drugstore that has the machines that will print them, I don't want them to decide where to crop, what to cut out. So I'm going to do it in advance. When I click OK, a lot of people would assume they could just type in 8 by 10. And for this image, it's really a landscape shot. So I'm going to do 10, and I hit Tab to jump over, by 8. And I can see what I need to compromise. I might want to keep the entire palm tree, so I'll move the image over until that fits. However, if I double-click to do the crop or press Return or Enter, and check Image, Image Size, it's not 8 by 10. Not really. It's a ratio that if I typed 10 now, it's exactly 10 by 8. So if you used one of those machines to print your own pictures, it would scale perfectly, and you wouldn't have to sit there and fiddle with it or crop. But I'm going to hit Cancel, and I'm going to undo the crop. Here is the way that you get it exactly the size and resolution that you want. Most images need 300 pixels per inch for magazine quality, but a lot of those digital devices, like the ones at your local drugstore or Photoshop, only need around 225 pixels per inch, or maybe 150. But I set all of mine to 225. If I select where it says a 4 by 5 ratio is the same as an 8 by 10 ratio, the numbers with the colons in them are ratios. They're not final width and height. There are pre-saved options of 4 by 5 at 300 pixels per inch, or 8.5 by 11 at 300 pixels per inch, but not exactly the size I'm looking for. So instead of using ratio, I will select width and height and resolution. And when I do, now I can type in 10 by 8 at 225 pixels per inch, and often 150 is fine. Then I will scoot it over so I keep this palm tree in the picture. And when I double-click or press Return or Enter, the file size did drop, so I end up at 11.6 megs. And if I check Image and Image Size, it's perfectly 8 by 10. Now let's try that again with a different dimension. I'll click OK because it's where I want it, and I can actually make a new crop preset, which is beautiful. It will save this frequently used size for me. So it's 10 by 8 at 225. I might want to quickly save another one that's 8 by 10 at 225. So I'll click OK, and that will now be a custom one in the crop menu. But in this shot, I want to do a 6 by 4. In fact, when you just have a roll of pictures printed from your camera, the default is 6 by 4 or 4 by 6. And again, if I were to choose one of the ratios, 4 by 6, which is also a ratio of 2 by 3, it fits pretty well, but I have to decide, do I want to keep more of the dress in the shot and cut close to her head, or do I want to balance in between? Ideally, I should be trying to get the focal point on her face. If you use the rule of thirds, the interesting areas should be at the intersection of these guides if you split the image into thirds, horizontally and vertically. So as I crop, I may shoot for that, but let's just keep it simple for this example. I've put in 4 by 6, but it's really 2 by 3. And I'm going to switch tools and don't crop. And before I do anything, I'll check image size. It's 9.7 by 16. So it's a very large image and I have room to work with. In fact, it's a 25 megabyte file. If I come back to the crop tool, it's still on my ratio of 4 by 6, and I'll just choose to crop it at the center. So I'll press Return or Enter, or double-click. Return brought up the crop bound. A double-click performed the crop, and now it only dropped to 23 megs. I didn't show you this earlier, but under image size, it went to 9.7 by 14, but it kept the same resolution, 240 pixels per inch. So I really only lost a little bit. It didn't end up at 4 by 6 or 2 by 3 because those are ratios, not dimensions. So I'm going to hit Cancel and undo the crop, and I will type in my own width and height and resolution. And I'm going to do 4 by 6 inches, a real dimension, at 225. And it's the same area I had before. I could try harder to keep that rule of thirds into play and do some cropping on the image itself to maybe get the focal point to her face, giving the eye something interesting to look at and the camera a place to rest on. Now, when I double-click or press Return or Enter, the file size dropped all the way down to 3 megabytes. Every time you cut the dimensions in half, the width and height in half, the file size drops 4 times. So if I look at image size, it is exactly what I wanted, 4 by 6 at 225. And this is a frequent size for me. So if I click OK and go to this menu for the crop tool, I can make another new crop preset that is 4 by 6 at 225. So it's important to illustrate all the controls and preset options you have for the crop tool, but also the difference between ratios and actual width, height, and resolution values. So see what size you often end up printing and build a couple crop presets of your own.